Pleasure to have you all here tonight for a very serious matter. In a short while, I will introduce everybody on the call and then turn over the call to our chairman, who will be supported by our former General Secretary, Mr. G.S. Neal, who is Vice President for Cornwall now. We will also have on the call, if possible, Shirley the caller, is going to give us a kind of diaspora perspective tonight. So she will be kind of independent of the board and be able to kind of listen and bring certain questions to the fore, or just about navigate, anything that might be uncomfortable for the board to do, because this is also about us as well as you wanting to hear what's happening. So once again, welcome to you all. Again, my name is Joseph Patterson, and now I'm going to turn over to Mr. Winston Wright, the chairman of the UIC. Mr. Wright.
Good evening, Uniters. Firstly, apologies for not being in colors. I'm still at work, believe it or not, in 7:30 a.m. But we are here to discuss a very serious matter, and it's a matter of protocol as it relates to being a member of this organization, particularly a serving member. Now, there are several things that have been circulated on the internet of persons asking what is happening, since certain materially false information has been put out by a former member whose behavior was called into question and was deemed so disruptive that this body had to take decisive action. So we're here to discuss all of that, have this matter ventilated so our side, the party side, the movement side can be heard, instead of the one side, which is the loudest side out there shouting. As a matter of fact, the board isn't taking the decision to be here lightly, but the member has violated the non-disclosure agreement that exists between the movement and her to show the level of honor and respect there is for the movement. After willingly entering into that document, has taken these matters in hand, and because persons know that the movement don't have the financial resources for pursuing them legally for this breach. Again, it speaks to honor and decorum. Now, it is important that we establish a timeline of events and understand the history of what is going on, and to be able for discerning persons to refute what has been said in public. Now, I wanted my former General Secretary here, but unfortunately he's running late. So I'm gonna ask our president firstly to not only introduce persons on the call with us, or he did that already, but to broach the topic that we will be discussing tonight. So let me open the floor to the president firstly. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Once again, good night to all of you. And I am very unhappy that we have to be meeting to discuss what we're about to discuss. But nonetheless, we're here and we have to do it. Let me first of all acknowledge the members of our National Executive Council who are here. You just heard from the chairman, Mr. Winston Wright. You see on screen Ms. Naika Williams, who is our treasurer. You'll see, at least from where I'm sitting beside her, Dr. Coretta Brown Johnson, who is our vice president for the county of Middlesex. You'll also see just below the chairman, at least from my screen, Janet Chakanowski, who is a long-standing director. She has been with us since 2017. I think she's the longest serving director next to Dr. Harvey. And of course, Mrs. Patterson and I have been the longest serving of anyone. You also have Ms. Jasmine Powell, who is the vice president for the county of Surrey. And Ms. Powell is right here on screen. Mrs. Charlotte Masado Patterson, my dear wife, First Lady, and Chief Administrator for the UIC. Next to her, you see on screen the name Abdul, which is Lisa, who is the chairperson for our finance committee. I see also on the call, Christine Simpson-Mensah, hope she'll be able to go on camera. Christine Simpson-Mensah is our director on the board responsible for fundraising and donor engagement. Who else am I seeing that is in a responsible position? Okay, nobody else that that I can see on my screen here. There are a number of you here who are in various groups. I see persons from the Canada diaspora groups. I see persons from locally here in Jamaica, like Mr. Desmond Myrie. And I see Ms. Sonia Mignot, who is also in the Canada diaspora group. Welcome, Cleo. See you as well. And Carol Spence. Thanks to all of you for being here. I'm going to use the opportunity now to walk you all through the process that was followed that led to where we are today. So if you don't mind me trying to read this from my screen, it says here that the former General Secretary engaged in a number of activities that were questionable over her tenure and was asked to give an account of her most recent concerning actions at the NEC's regularly scheduled meeting of June 25th, Sunday, 2023 at 6:30 p.m., which happened after our members and supporters meeting, which was held at 5 p.m. The NEC met with the former General Secretary and asked her to explain her conduct and the unwarranted accusations she aggressively levied at the president instead of following the cordial norms of adding such items to our weekly agenda and raising them appropriately in our meetings. The accusations raised by her were all found to be false or misleading, and the manner in which they were raised by her were considered grossly inappropriate and unbecoming of the office of the General Secretary. The NEC therefore voted unanimously, after much deliberations, to terminate and also cancel the candidacy of the former General Secretary while leaving her UIC membership intact. Unfortunately, after being excused from the deliberation phase of the meeting, in which she was vigorously defending her actions, the former General Secretary declined to return to hear the decision reached or to discuss any next steps. She instead asked that the NEC send her its decision by email. The decision of the NEC was emailed to her on Monday, June 26, 2023, and the public was later notified of the same without prejudice or malice. The former General Secretary did not appeal the NEC's decision, but chose to launch a very damaging, false, misleading, public defamation campaign against the leadership of the movement and the party, including calling the NEC members some very insulting names. The NEC then held an emergency meeting yesterday, Tuesday, June 27, 2023, to discuss the new developments and concluded that the former General Secretary should be expelled from membership, and we voted unanimously for the same. The former General Secretary has since emailed the chairman of the NEC requesting a DRC, which is a Dispute Resolution Committee hearing. But this is no longer available to her, having failed to return to the NEC meeting and consequently violating the NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, by publicizing the matter and defaming the leadership and the organization. The DRC, or Dispute Resolution Committee, is an internal secondary process that any member may appeal to if they have a dispute among themselves or with a member of the administration. The fact that the former General Secretary went public and defamed the organization and its leadership, thus losing her membership status before requesting a DRC, makes her request null and void. The NEC has therefore taken all reasonable steps to resolve the matter internally and has reached the correct conclusion at its meeting with the former General Secretary. I might want to add the fact that the NEC is consisting of 11 persons. 11, I dare say, bright, intelligent persons who are able to understand all of which I'm speaking. It is our duty to protect and defend the integrity and the reputation of the organization and to maintain a respectful and responsible internal working environment, not only among our leadership, but also among our membership. We're very proud of the way in which we have handled this and all disputes, recognizing that we cannot control the conduct of former members, but may have to take legal action where necessary to further protect the reputation of our movement. While individuals may choose to carelessly engage in misinformation, defamation, and character assassination, we, as a duly registered political party and public entity, are bound by the norms of professionalism, by our own principles and the rule of law, to be conservative, to be respectful, and to be responsible in what and how much we say in any given situation. We hope that you will accept our duly arrived judgment carried out in our legal capacity as the NEC. However, if you think we have acted improperly, you have every single right to vote us out, vote in a new board of directors at the next annual members Congress, so-called. You can be assured that your decision as duly paid up members is the ultimate decision by which we must all abide. So I want to thank you. At this stage, we'll now open the floor via the chairman for any questions you might have.
I also want to invite participants to raise their hands so that we can, in a coordinated way, accept their questions.
Please go ahead and raise your hand because we do need to hear your questions so we can answer them. While you're waiting, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll raise 3 issues that the former General Secretary has posited in the public that I think needs to be addressed.
I see a hand from Mr. Foster.
Okay.
We'll take that hand after you.
Sure, no problem. So, Mr. Chairman, the former General Secretary has posited in the public that 3 key things have occurred and which suggest impropriety and something nefarious or wrong with our board and our governance. One of them is that a personal bank account was opened in Canada, and that was done under the auspices or the direction or the authorization of the president of the UIC. That's the first thing. I can clearly say, Mr. Chairman, and the facts will show that there is absolutely no such bank account which was open or authorized by me or this body, the NEC, for any account in Canada during my sojourn in that country recently for town hall meetings. The former General Secretary also posited in public that I sought to obstruct the opening of a local bank account here in Jamaica. Again, Mr. Chairman, as you and every member of the NEC knows, that is patently false, and later on other members can speak to the process that we have followed and why up until now we do not yet have a local commercial bank account. But for the records, I have not in any way obstructed, and in fact the records will show that I have worked the hardest, the longest, and the most perseveringly for us to get a commercial bank account, and so that is false. The third item posited by the former General Secretary in public is that I have, or somebody in the NEC, have violated the NEC's decision to award a stipend to myself and Mrs. Patterson, and that the violation is that we are having a retroactive stipend as opposed to not having one. The records will show again in the minutes of the the NEC that there were no such provisions for a non-retroactive stipend, and the entire motion is clearly stated, and the votes are clearly stated as well in our minutes. So again, the third item posited is also very, 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 very false. A fourth item actually, which came up outside of our interaction with the former General Secretary, this is now also in the public domain, is that a bank in Canada has offered us a bank account, and that I have decided not to go along with having a bank account offered to us in Canada in the name of the UIC. Again, Mr. Chairman, that is patently false, and any analysis will show this to be so. But again, I can say this before I turn back over to Mr. Chairman, the goal of our enemies is to ensure that we remain with two political parties only, and that the UIC, like that of Marcus Garvey, does not become the challenging force that gives the Jamaican people the alternative we all desire and want. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll get some more into that later. The chair acknowledges Mr. Foster. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I missed the first part of the presentation. Is Ms. Ramirez still a member of the organization?
No, sir,
No,
she is not.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'll wait for you to give me any directions to speak. I always jump ahead to give timely responses.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Foster, your audio was saying loading. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question.
Yes, you did. The disappointing that it is. We wish that the issue was resolved a lot more quieter. Hopefully she comes back. I don't know if she's allowed to come back, but
no, Mr. Foster, I've worked with Ms. Ramirez Augusta through the entirety of her tenure, and she's somebody that I had great respect for, and she did do good work. But the level to which she and the rest of the board members can attest has taken this on the affront that she has shown to the president. I don't see a road back. Now, take it from me as someone who has been in leadership in a multinational organization. When you have someone who shows you such scant regard, your office that is, you would be in serious jeopardy to continue working with that someone. And that is what exactly is at stake here. So I hope that was clear enough for you, Mr. Foster. But I do share your disappointment.
thank you.
Any other member with a question, please? And it doesn't matter. We need to be clear on what has happened and the way forward. So I encourage everyone present, everyone, please raise your hand, be acknowledged, and to speak and seek clarity. So that way, when we leave this virtual room tonight, when we see the onslaught that will come from the many who seek to keep the UIC from growth, you will be able to publicly and proudly state that my movement is beyond reproach. I had a call from a member just 15 minutes prior to joining this call. And when I asked him what did he hear that was of concern, he said, just gossip and rumors. And I said, exactly that. And I went on to explain to said member. And he left smiling, renewing his vow to be at Sunday's event to support his movement. So again, members, we are here. Please ask your questions.
Sir Winston.
The chair acknowledges Sir Kirk. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, it's just that I myself was a little bit late when I got the previous email, and I just saw this one. I was actually outside and I just came in and get on. So I myself personally I don't really know what happened. I heard about Miss Ramirez, but she's so far. That was one of the area that I actually, based on previous conversation, I always believe that could be one of the safe seat for UIC. So now that she's not in the spot, is there someone new in that area?
No, because up until the entire event, Ms. Ramirez Acosta was our champion in that area. But nonetheless, the movement flag flies high, and we continue to look for candidates, intelligent, smart, articulate persons who are akin to the vision and philosophy of the UIC, people who are willing to stand up despite the odds, be brave, be true to the cause, and not to self. So if you know someone in the area, in the true UIC fashion, we look for someone that is in the area, sharing the pains of the people, and is able to represent the people in a substantive way.
Okay. Well, I'm actually not from, I'm more closer to you. I'm actually from Montego Bay, to be exact.
Well, we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, well, I'm living in Canada. I'm actually on this call from Canada right now, but I have family members who really, even right now, I was talking to my brother, like I would say this morning, maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to encourage him to really visit that meeting. And if there's any questions or there's any concern that some of the stuff that I told him that he didn't get clear, I think it would be open for him to ask whatsoever question he wants to ask.
Well, tell him to come on up and say hi, and I'll definitely have a talk with him.
Yeah, for sure.
The president is going to be busy because there's some special stuff that is planned for him, but I'll definitely be willing to speak with him.
Yeah, I'm encouraging him because like my mom right now, she's here, and she was saying to me when I told her we are the meeting, she was saying, man, if I was in Jamaica, I would for sure be there, because the first time I met what's his name, this guy from Mount Salem, there was a program that UNM was on, so I connect with him through that program, and then it was, I think, heading in a direction that seems good. My mom, she's living in Mount Salem area, so he was hoping for them to really connect, but then it didn't happen. And we actually in Chamber don't know what their representative from Montego Bay or what's going on down there. There's not much info I can even tell them. I said, yes, I'm close to the movements, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything of recent.
Well, I'm in Mount Salem quite often. My mechanic is in Piggott Street, and the violence that is happening there recently is one of the things. My mother-in-law lives in Rosemont Gardens, which is just down the road. So I'm in the area quite often, so you can just put me in touch with whomever, but we are seeking candidates in that area. Okay. We know there are strongholds, but yeah.
That's where my mom lives, actually, Rosemont Garden. So
okay, I lived on that scheme for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lives in Rosemont Garden here.
First left, first right, second house.
Well, I would be a second, I think it would be second left. After using a runabout, second left. She lives on that one. But and she for sure, she convinced like a lot of her neighbors. Like there are so many, you guys have fear support inside that little area there, where all they keep asking me, oh, you tell me about this guy from Salem and we haven't seen him come over here. Like, my mom were actually trying to invite him over there and just to say, come and meet these people, tell them that this movement isn't a joke or anything. It didn't happen. So
well, we're looking to get into the communities shortly. Yeah. And they have a lovely community center over there, massive thing. So we can probably have a meeting over there one of these days.
Yeah, that would be good. And as I said, I'm gonna try to have her connect with someone, even like yourself or Mr. Well, my brother, I gave him Mr. Patterson number to kind of get a direct connect, because he have a lot of idea and he's a brilliant guy who went through the system too. As when I say through the system, he's in the trade. He went to Cornell College and educated some person who really interested and want to see change. And everyone I'm talking about now are people who are really hungry for change, like really hungry. I'm living in Canada, and trust me, my heart is in Jamaica. I want to come home, but to be honest, it's really sticky.
Understood. Again, I'd love to talk to your brother. He can bring in a Cornell old boy vote, because that is a big segment of the Montego Bay population, particularly business. But we'll talk some more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
This is Leia. I'm sorry
no,
if I mispronounced
I had my hand up, but I'm going to listen because I joined a bit late. I apologize. I have a little one that I have to put to bed. So I'm going to listen and then I'll add my comments later. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And congratulations on the little one. Let's hope we don't disturb him.
She's 5, but thank you.
You're welcome. Any other member with a question?
I think I raised my hand. This is Marlene.
Hi, Marlene. No, I'm
Hi.
not seeing it. Sorry about that. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, okay, sorry. Just a quick question. Do you have any representative in Maypen in Clarendon?
Who do we have in Clarendon again? Mr. President, do we still have someone in Clarendon?
Yeah. No, we don't. I wanted to comment on that issue about candidates. I've heard in the regular communication persons talk about, the high turnover rate. We have had 150 applications for candidates over the last 2 years, I think. We've tested a few of those persons. Many times there are challenges. The persons have a desire to serve, but they may not have the competences to serve.
Okay.
And so we keep recruiting and trying to find people. We also, sometimes we take a chance. We've taken a chance with a few candidates who, in all honesty, after serious analysis, you see, a candidate is more than just a name and a face going on a poster. The person has to have some basic skills. They must be able to plan, organize, manage, and actually represent your constituents. Just imagine when you elect someone and then they go in the House of Representatives or in the council, and you're talking about complex issues. Let's say you have to approve a new development. If this person can't deal with the data and deal with the analysis and be able to ask the right questions and to see when something is not going right, then there's no point. Or if the person has a character traits that makes them unable to work with other people, that's also an issue as well. So we have had a lot of work trying to find out. Many of the people who are qualified to run as candidates tend to shy away from politics in Jamaica because of obvious reasons. Victimization, protecting your job, just being afraid of like what some of us are going through right now. Many don't want to put themselves through this kind of thing. They don't want to be in this kind of situation. I mean, just imagine how many, professionals, want to be having this kind of meeting right now and going through these kind of things. It's kind of easier to just kind of go enjoy your accounting practice or your legal practice or your psychiatrist practice or your dental practice and not really get into this kind of thing. So, hats off to Winston, Dr. Coretta, who are the other candidates that I'm seeing on the call. Candidates, and even those who are not candidates, to subject yourself to this, Ms. Powell, Mrs. Patterson, Ms. Abdul, Ms. Janet. This is really a very, very painful experience. And normally nobody wants, especially with a third party, you don't want to do this. You have a better chance of being elected normally in one of the two other parties. Most people choose that if they're going in, and the rewards are enormous if you go in there, because if you win on the one of those two, they're not seeking to do what the UIC wants to do. So when they go in, they're going to have a part of that gravy train. If the UIC wins, none of us here gets in the gravy train because our policies lock those avenues off very, very quickly. So to answer your question, we don't have someone. We have had persons in Maypen that we've since had to cancel. So don't be dismayed when you see us having to tell you that, somebody is no longer a prospective candidate. It's a part of the process. What you don't want is to elect us and then to be very disappointed with the kind of persons we have sitting in the House or sitting in the council on your behalf. People who cannot engage in solving the problems and persons who cannot actually represent the people they have offered themselves to represent. So please work with us. We now have 6 MP candidates. We had 7. We're now down to 6. We have Winston in Westmoreland. We have forgive me, I'm having a brain freeze. Anybody can help me out. We have Chase in St. Mary. We have Dr. Coretta in St. Andrew. We have myself in St. Elizabeth. Who am I missing?
We have Garth.
We have Garth in Kingston. Who else? So, we have about 6 persons, MP candidates that we have now at this point certified. We continue to monitor all candidates. So somebody asked the question about how are we vetting people, screening people for the board. Again, that's another issue, right? When you have too few people to select from, you may end up trying out and testing somebody. For example, I'll give you one example. Our treasurer here, how many 22-year-old is a treasurer for an organization like this? Not too many. We took a chance with her and she has proven to be way above the norm. She has outperformed on just about every index, even though she's still learning. You know, so we do our best, and sometimes we get it wrong because we don't know. A person can come to you very sweet, very nice, and then you'll be shocked to see what happened. Many of you don't see what happened in the background. You never know. We, the 11 members of the board, we have to work with everybody. So we can tell you exactly how, well, we won't tell you fully, but how a person has performed, what have they done. So when we're planning events or activities, how did this person perform in this activity? Were they value added or a distraction? Did they come through and deliver on what they agreed to? And so we take all of that into consideration. And then you look at their behavior, their attitude, and so on. I'll give you one example. Miss Powell, Jasmine Powell. She's the last person to want to be a vice president of the UIC. The last person. She said, no, Mr. Patterson. And I saw in her what she didn't see in herself. And I'm certain that most people weren't too sure.
Okay, she raised the hand.
Surely, many people weren't too sure when they're probably voting for her to be vice president. And she has blown the thing out of the park. She has overperformed in her area, just to give you an example. Sometimes you never know. You also bring people in and their plans. They come around, they say that they want to help out, and then you find out later on that there's multi-year motives. Some people want to get very close to the president. They want to, you know, get behind the scenes. They want to see what is going on. They want to be able to, you know, and so you never know. As sweet as the person may be, you just never know until you know, and so on. So back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask, put VP Brown Johnson on the spot for me. I see a question in the chat.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Marlene.
Yes, sorry about that. So
That's fine.
I'd only ask a question because I just want to know if there's someone there I could actually connect with. I'm actually in USA. I'm in Georgia, and I'm from Clarendon, and that's where you know, I was really looking at the jump thing. Anyway, forget about that. I'm sorry. Let me retract. Let me go back to what I was saying quickly. I really want to know if there was anyone there. And Mr. President, thank you very much for explaining that. And I do trust the process. And I love the way you articulated all of that. So, you know, we know this is not a 1, 2, 3 thing. Just like you said, just about anyone can come in. I love that because it gives me the assurance that not just about anyone, you know, can just come in and get a seat and, you know, we say they are an MP for an area. I love the fact that you all take this process, you know, is very professional about it. So I am fine with that. And I'm very patient to wait until you actually find someone to represent Clarendon. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Marlene.
Mr. Chairman, just one more thing on the same issue. So the UIC's position is that we want persons to run in the areas that they reside, particularly, or have a business, or really are a part of the experience of the people they're trying to represent. We're not like the others who just pick somebody and drop them in and you know, for whatever reason. We want the persons to come from. Now that's hard, that's not easy, but we really want the persons to come from or have very close ties with the community or constituency that they represent. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm going to ask VP Brown Johnson to help me with this one. There's a question from John. And good evening, John. Good to see you on. Asking why Ms. Ramirez Acosta is not here. Can you help me with that one, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Good night, everyone. I believe that we have exhausted the process in terms of having the discourse and the discussion with Ms. Ramirez Acosta. All the points that the president shared at the opening, the 15 points, are all true, relevant. We went through a process with her in a closed door meeting. And now with what is happening, it has contributed to us being here tonight. This is the NEC of the UIC answering your concerns and questions. And it is not a forum, I think, that we would invite Mrs. Acosta to, given the recent events. And so that is why she isn't here. She is no longer a member as well. And therefore, it's not something we would have wanted to get into in a public space. And that's also the concern. You know, if she comes on and there's still unresolved concerns for her, things that could be reiterated that we have already sorted and spoken to, it could become a little bit not so pretty. And that's not what we're interested in doing at this time.
Thank you, VP Brown Johnson. All right, so
Welcome, Mr. Chair.
Any other member wishing to address the meeting through the chair? While I wait on members to formulate their questions, I had the privilege of sitting in the sovereign parliament of another country on multiple occasions, not only to answer the parliament for the running of public affairs on behalf of the country, but also to manage a process on behalf of the country and to report on it. And the level of understanding and the level of teamwork, despite the adversarial nature of their government, was notable, meaning they were able to work together despite not agreeing on certain fine points. As a unit, we need to have that similar cohesion, because when we get into this system, there will be that push to, for want of a better term, curtail what we plan to do for the people, because after 80 years of not having it, let us not fool ourselves and believe that they'll say, okay, the UIC is elected, fine, we'll wait. They recognize what it would mean to that system and therefore will try to prevent it. We need to be a well-oiled machine going forward. And if we can't work with each other, then we can't work for the country. And that's just my take on it. Any member has a question? It seems that we have articulated our position really well. President have understood. Yes, Mr. President, floor is yours.
There are a few people on the other platforms who are asking questions. Maybe Ms. Williams can share those questions over here in the chat. Just pick the relevant questions and then we can respond to those. While she's working on that, Mr. Chair, I think it would be very nice if our audience could hear from each of the other members of the NEC, just a short, maybe an introduction of themselves for 60 seconds. So people just hear their voices and know who they are. And maybe they can direct questions directly to some of them. So they have a broader feel for, because most times people see my face, Mr. Chair, and they think the UIC is me, not realizing that there are very diligent, professional, quality people who are working daily behind the scenes as volunteers, but none of us are being paid. Except we pay the treasurer for her admin assistant. She volunteers as treasurer. There's a stipend to myself and Mrs. Patterson, about $1,100 US per month, which we have never received because we've never had the money to pay it out. So these hardworking individuals, I think it would be lovely if people here, just hear from them and get to know, like, for example, Ms. Lisa Abdul, who's our chair for the finance committee. You know, she's giving up her time freely and helping to build this movement. Mr. Keith Roman, who's not a member of the executive, but these are some people who are really helping out. But let's hear from the NEC members if we can, Mr. Chair, one by one, brief introduction of themselves, maybe, if possible.
Definitely. All right. My screen is a bit condensed here. Let us start with.
Let me go first.
Miss Jasmine.
Greetings to everyone.
Greetings, Miss Jasmine.
Yes. My name is Jasmine Poet.
And first of all, I am a proud member of the United Independence Congress. I'm also the vice president for the county of Surrey. A little more about myself will include that I am a justice of the peace in the parish of St. Andrew. I am also the Jamaica Public Service Community Ambassador where I live. I'm also a trained and certified parent mentor within the Ministry of Education. And I am a very, very active person in my community. You know, volunteerism is like a part of my life. You know, I also am a member of a group within my community. We are the Peace Builders. We got the Prime Minister's Award in 2017 for nation building. We are still very active in the community. You know, and so much more, but I don't want so much talk about myself and the little achievements. You know, this movement means a lot to me, a lot to me. You know, it's like the UIC, you know, it gives me hope based on the module created by Mr. Joseph Patterson, you know, for the solution for the country of Jamaica. It is something that I respect very much. And, you know, amidst all that is happening, and, you know, right now, one of the things that is the thing that makes me so attracted to this movement, you know, because the leader of the movement, I said to myself, you know, but this man is a very qualified person in the field that he is, you know, the field of money and accounts. So why in heaven's name, why would he choose to try to rob any little monies within this movement when he have all the opportunity to be a part? If he wanted, if it was a money thing, it would be a part of the other two parties. You understand? And I look at these things because the other politicians that I have seen, and I am not afraid to say that most of them go into politics very skinny, and all of them, after a while, everybody gain weight and get so fat, and you know, life take a turn. So, you know, it hurtful. It hurts me, you know, if it's anybody at all try to belittle the president by suggesting the things that they are suggesting, you know, but it's so sad. But I am happy the way we as a team is handling the situation. And, you know, most persons could come out and paint other people, say negative stuff about them, but we are not about that. The UIC is about transparency and the truth. And that is my little.
Thank you, Ms. Jasmine. Appreciate you as always. Dr. Brown Johnson, over to you.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Boy, Ms. Jasmine, always on the money. Love that, love you. All right, so good night, everyone. My name is Dr. Coretta Brown Johnson. I am an MP candidate for West Rural St. Andrew and VP for Cornwall. In terms of what I do, I'm a clinical behavioral specialist and an addiction medicine specialist. So I get involved in working with people to help them heal, resolve, and preventative care so that you don't get to the extreme. My involvement in the UIC, you know, if it's not obvious, I do believe in the tenets of what UIC represents and puts forward. And I do believe, I've been having conversations all week with different people who you would think are from the other parties. And one of the concurrent things is that this is needed. So this process that we're going through now, this party, this solution, these suggestions, the model, it's needed. It's needed for our people. So I concur on a lot of what VP Powell shared earlier. I fully support those tenets and will lend my skills to assist that process. And so even though we're in a place now which may seem, because I see questions coming up, this is a part of resolving the concerns so we can move forward. And one of the things I want to say and make clear is that it is not about whether or not you can disagree. This idea that we're yes ministers is not a good thing to say, because Mr. Patterson himself, you can disagree. You can have a different idea or concern about an issue, but at the core of any communication of a difference is how, and the respect factor, the fact of how we communicate and look at ourselves to learn and grow within this process and be held accountable as well. So I just want to say, you know, I'm here fully open and ready to support anyone who's willing to put your talk where your actions are, talk and actions. So jump on board, get involved, because this movement is no joke. So thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Thank you, VP Brown Johnson. At this time, we ask Ms. Naika Williams to come to the microphone.
All right, I hope I'm being heard clearly.
You are.
Okay, wonderful. This situation for me it's another one, and I must say it has really taught me pretty much a lot. I'm still learning this, you know, being a part of an organization and learning how to conduct myself and so forth. And one thing I've learned is that there's this fine line, or persons have to find a balance between personalism and professionalism. As a person representing an organization, right, there are, what would I say now, code of conduct that must be followed once you are representing the organization. Outside of that, professional personalism is, you know, pretty much okay. But when we have, you know, the two being mixed, then it becomes a problem. It becomes chaotic in a sense. So, you know, all of that has to be avoided. And thanks to Mr. Patterson, who has been an awesome, and Mrs. Patterson as well, who have been awesome mentors to me, you know, helping me along this way. I've really learned a lot. So all of this propaganda being spread about, you know, them and so forth, what persons need to understand is that it really doesn't add up. And all of these things are going out, you know, all of these things are going out without any steady proof. It's really just talk, pretty much. So yeah, that is my take on it. But I must say all of these things are really just accusations and allegations with no real proof to say this is so.
Thank you, Naika. Appreciate it as always. At this time, we acknowledge Director Chikanowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good night, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
I hope so. Okay, great. So as you've already heard, my name is Janet Chikanowski, and I found the UIC group on Facebook. I call it Divine Connection. I can't remember how, but I joined this group and I was just mesmerized. I was just blown away with the information I was learning, because I had no idea what the role of government is in a country. And I learned so much from Mr. Patterson. And to be honest, it's because of him and the UIC movement why I take the plunge and return to Jamaica 2 years ago. Still have one foot in the US, but I'm here now in Jamaica. And I really appreciate the UIC and what it stands for. What attracted me to the UIC is the philosophies, the values, the standards, the transparency. It really spoke to me. And so for me, I had no problem volunteering, jumping on board. I work behind the scenes. I'm not an upfront person. I work behind the scenes, and that's where I'm very comfortable. If I need to be out front, then I will be out front. In fact, I was in the group the other day and saw, how people would attack Mr. Patterson. I would really come to his defense. And I thought, boy, I was mouthy back then. I'm really quiet now. I became quiet because COVID-19 had brought on a bunch of people to the organization. So I took a step back so that, we have more people now who can help to lead the organization. So it was very painful for me at the recent events and what has been occurring, and saddened at the fact that anyone would accuse Mr. Patterson of being a scammer or stealing money. I feel like this man has given up his life to come to Jamaica for what? To get this abuse? No, it's not necessary. He didn't need to do that. Mr. Patterson is a person who he just doesn't talk, but he walks the talk. And so everybody knows what's wrong in Jamaica. Everybody points out the problem, but how many people were willing to step up and do something about it? Well, he did, and he's doing it on behalf of all of us. And the bottom line is, those who are talking against him, those who are doing all this negative bashing, they will eventually, what's the word I'm looking for? They will eventually earn off of what? When I say earn, not money, but they will benefit. That's the word. They will benefit when the UIC becomes the next government. I have no doubt about that, because the message that the UIC brings to people is a message that a lot of us are looking for. So I want to urge everyone who is overseas and you're wanting to come home. I know the news is bad. It's bad out there, but you know what? If you come and you're focused and you build relationships with the right people, you will make it. If I can make it, you can. Trust me. It's not easy, but we all can make it. And so this is why the UIC is here, is so that those who want to come home can come. So we need more people to support us. You know the areas that you're from. If you know people there who are tired of the same old for the past 80 years, then introduce them to the UIC. I know people right now are iffy because they've been programmed that a third party cannot win. That's a lie. A third party can win, and we are the official third party that will take Jamaica from a third world country to a first world country. Thank you so much for listening. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sister Janet. I have to applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We have the VP of Cornwall and former General Secretary joining us. But before we go to Mr. Neil, I'm going to save you for last, Brother Neil. We'll go over to Mrs. Simpson-Mensah. Christine, I know you were probably busy. If you can speak, let me know. If not, that's fine.
Yes, thank you. And sorry, everyone. It's quite hectic over here. My name is Christine Mensah. I am the fundraising director and director of donor engagement for the UIC. It's nice to meet all of you today. Some names I recognize, some that I don't. What has happened is unfortunate. When you're a young organization, I think of at the beginning of the United States, there was the Tea Party, and there was, just a lot of friction. There was a lot of building up and tearing down. And unfortunately, that is kind of like the way it goes when you are at the beginning of a movement. There's a lot of growing pains that happen, and you're getting to experience these growing pains, but part of that is also you experiencing the history and being part of the history that is happening within the organization. As was said by Dr. Coretta, there is a protocol for the way things that need to be done. When we have an issue, we have an NEC, we come to the NEC, we hash out whatever our issues are, and then we take the trajectory that way. Unfortunately, it wasn't done that way this time. And we tend to, as a people, have a tendency when we have an issue with something, rather than find a way to kind of come together and see how we can hash it out, we go to social media. That's the new thing. Everybody goes to social media, they slander you, and they completely work to tear down your name. And that's not the way that we should be moving. And if we're serious about making Jamaica better, that kind of toxic approach is not going to help us, and it's not going to help our country. So appreciate you all listening. And being a part of the movement and continuing to believe in the movement and growing with us, and just keep focused, keep sharing the message about the UIC. There's no other party like the UIC. There's no other message like this message. And there's no other hope that I see for Jamaica than this message and this vision. So thank you very much for being here today.
You're muted.
Sorry, Mr. President, bad habit from work.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, there's a lot of activity on our YouTube page. I'm gonna, allow for the rest of the introduction, but there's a lot of activity on our YouTube page. But there's one thing I want to really point to. I see Miss Elsa Tremblay, who's a member of our finance committee, who sits on the finance committee with Lisa Abdul, Emma Gordon, Cleveland Harrison, I think it is, and Miss Elsa is on our social media page, suggesting that the former General Secretary was kicked out because she asked questions about bank account. I would like to make it very clear to everyone watching that that is patently false. That's completely false, and I'm very disappointed that a person who's a member of the finance committee, who has full access to our books and full access to our information, would go online and distribute false information. Let me remind everyone that the president of the UIC did not authorize a bank account in Canada in any person's name. That is absolutely false. The president did not refuse to open a bank account in Canada. That is also false. The president did not in any shape or form fail to support or push for a local bank account here in Jamaica. That is also patently false. And I'm going to ask Ms. Elsa Tremblay and all those who are supporting her in this initiative to cease and desist from spreading misinformation, because we may have to take legal actions. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. That is strange that a member that has access and knows that knows the inner workings of the UIC and is privy to so much is deliberately participating in this lie.
Which means she will have to be removed from the finance committee, Mr. Chairman. I'm just making that very clear. She will have to be removed from the finance committee and be removed from our Canadian diaspora group. I hate to have to say this, but I'm going to be very transparent, my fellow Jamaicans out there. We cannot tolerate this kind of misinformation, lies, innuendos, and disruptions to the movement. Elsa Tremblay, John Price, you all know that this is false. And if you want to have accurate information, you're a member of the finance committee. Elsa, you could have gone to the finance committee, asked any questions, and I'm sure the chairman of the finance committee, the other members of the finance committee, including the treasurer, would have been able to answer your questions sufficiently. If you're not aware of banking rules and regulations, if you don't understand how the process works, take the time to go and learn, but do not jump to conclusions and end up spreading misinformation, because you're damaging the organization, you're hurting Jamaica's future. And if you want to be a part of a Jamaica that is safe, clean, and orderly, where everyone can live, earn, and retire with dignity, you should not be doing this. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Outside of having access to all the internal documents, accounting information, audit reports, they also have my number and can reach out to me at any time. Members know they can call me and say, Winston, I've seen this issue. And I will look into it. Not that there have been any issues, but I'll address them. I'll take their concerns. I'll discuss it with you or the NEC and provide them the answer they need. So they know they have that other avenue So what is the reason for doing what they are doing now that is so destructive and deliberate? Moving on. Mrs. Patterson, the floor is yours.
Good night, everyone. I'm Charlotte Patterson. I'm a businesswoman, and I'm a proud volunteer of United Independence Congress. Let me say that again. I am a proud volunteer of the United Independence Congress. I'm the wife of Joseph Patterson, and I also work in the administrative department of UIC. I devote 100% of my time to this organization. Now think about it. We have 24 hours in a day. We have to work 8 hours. We have to sleep 8 hours. And then we have to split the rest of it up. My husband and I have dedicated ourselves, our lives to this organization. Why? Because our vision says we are working for a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. How do you bring out the best in people? It's not always easy. It's not always a cakewalk. Sometimes it has to take a similar process as gold when it's being refined. A lot of trial by fire. We're going through a lot of fire right now, but I know that at the end of the day, we will come out like gold, because whatever we're doing right now, everything that we're doing is transparent, it's honest, it's decent. We don't take the word integrity lightly. I know it has been thrown around loosely in recent days, but we're serious about being people of integrity. And since Mr. Patterson has just mentioned that Miss Elsa Tremblay is out in the public saying what she's saying, I just want to add to what he says that Miss Elsa, a very cherished woman, a woman that I have had several heartwarming conversations with, has disappointed me tonight because she has more than enough avenues to get answers to whatever questions she has. Any time of the day, Elsa knows that she can write to me and ask her question. Today, I gave her that opportunity as well. She said she was concerned about certain things that were being posted. I said, you can call me, you can write to me. And if I don't have the answer, I will get it for you. So to be doing something like this right now, it's pretty sad. It's pretty disappointing. And if I may, Mr. Chair, I shared a story in a group just recently, and I'll take a moment to share it again, because I think it's very important that we stop jumping to conclusion. It's a story about a man and his beloved dog and his child. This man had to run to town. He lives in the country and he had to go out. His wife wasn't home, and so he couldn't take his baby to town. And he trusted his dog enough to leave that dog to watch the baby while he goes to town. And he hurried and went to town and came back quickly. When he came back, he noticed that his dog was sitting at the front of the door with blood all over him. Now, without investigating the matter, he took his gun and he killed the dog. Shortly thereafter, he went into the house to find that his precious baby was safe and protected from a wolf that had entered the house. So his beloved dog battled and won that fight against the wolf that came to kill his child. I say this tonight, we need to stop jumping to conclusions. We need to stop defaming people's character. We are intelligent people, and there is a space for questions to be asked and clarity to be given. And I hope that we as adults can be respectful to that system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. I see Winston is not on screen. Mr. Chase, you can go next.
All right, good night, everyone. I am Chase Neal. I am the VP for Cornwall County and also the Deputy General Secretary. I am by profession, I am a teacher. I've spent much of my working life in teaching and private security and also in complementary health. No, I came to the UIC by way of what is it called again on YouTube when it comes up on your feed? It was suggested to me by YouTube, and what drew me to the UIC was the structure, something that I have been searching for in governance in Jamaica, where there's accountability, where the ministers don't have direct access to the people's money, but their portfolios are handled by specialists, subject matter experts. Only they can be ministers in the different ministries or departments, if you will, while the MPs stick to monitoring the cabinet, ensuring more accountability, no mix-up of the executive and the legislative. And the MPs also stick to defending the cause of the people and debating laws. That was very attractive to me. What was also attractive to me was the national election of a president, a president separate and apart from the legislative, so that there's separation of powers and less chance of muddying the waters, and also the process of entering government. I won't go into all of that now, but I like the words that the president and then VP Devon were saying, but forgive me, Mr. President, what especially made me decide to join this movement was the structure that if you were to become president of Jamaica, you would not be left willy-nilly to run this place. So the accountability, the fact that there will be 3 vice presidents elected by the people, the president has nothing to do with it. And these persons elected by the people in each county would hold the president accountable. I didn't really expect the general secretary and the treasurer secretary at the time to hold the president accountable, since they would be elected on his ticket or her ticket based on the office. But the VPs who would have been independently elected by the people would be the people's representative. And the fact that there would no longer be a partisan type of politics means that they would owe nobody any party favors. And then the second level of accountability was that once the independent VPs would have seen eye to eye and agreed with what the president may have put forward, then the parish senators now, who are independently elected by the parishes, the people in parishes, would also be another level of accountability. So that may be, Jamaica well set on a way for accountability, and with this thing about people thieving out money out of the public coffers would be addressed once and for all. So the UIC governance model was very pulling towards to me. So I actually decided to sit in instead of my father, because he was the one who really is the people person everybody knew daddy. So he was supposed to go, was supposed to be MP, but he passed away before, so I sit in his stead and I try my best. Still looking for representatives, because I do not think that I am the best that St. Mary has to offer, but I'll do my best until we can find persons who are the best for Jamaica in each constituency, with your help, viewers, to take Jamaica the next step forward. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I see some comments in the, that I think need to be answered to. There are some persons who are insinuating about a stipend and people getting paid. We would have said this before, and when the treasurer speaks, if she has not already, I came late, she can make this clear. I think I saw someone from Finance Committee here too. The only person who gets paid in the UIC is the admin assistant, no one else. So this thing about the president or any other member of the NEC running after money is totally false. We have had financial presentations on UIC Liberty TV. If you need that answered, you go on UIC Liberty TV YouTube channel, where you are watching right now, hopefully, and you type in finance on the US and you will see step-by-step report of what we do with the membership donations. And you will see how the UIC has managed to survive on the little that we get, that we're thankful for, but you will see how that is done. Bear in mind that these accounts have been gone through, they have been examined carefully by our finance committee. Then after the finance committee examines these, the NEC does, and it's presented to an independent auditor who audits everything. And this goes to the EOJ, a body which is comprised of JLP and PNP, who do not want us to win, by the way. So if there were irregularities, we'd be out of business a long time ago. So I hope that people really use their critical thinking skills. I am begging Jamaicans to just stop and think. If it is that our finances are examined by independent bodies and also by a board composed of people who want to see us fail, how is it that we still maintain our existence and try to defend the rights of Jamaican people? Use your brain. I also see another thing about nobody should donate to the UIC until we open an account in the name of the UIC. That has been challenging. And I am one of the persons who is tasked with that. The banks ask impossible things of us. Then they say they can't help us. We are engaging another bank now, and we hope that the result will be different. But if it is that the banks refuse to give us an account, what are we supposed to do? And if we do get, I hope we do, get to open an account in the name of the UIC, it is we, the NEC, who will still be in charge. Since we're so thieving, to be thieving from the present account, and we are still the ones in charge, if we open an account in the name of the UIC, we're still able to thieve the money. So what is this rubbish about not donating? I'm sorry if I'm being offensive, but it is stupid to me. And I don't mean to offend, I'm just calling it as I see it. So if I am offensive, you can cuss me, and I'll apologize. But we are the NEC. If we get the go ahead to open a bank account in the name of the UIC, we are still the board. And if we want thief, since people accuse us of thieving, we're still going to thief the money. And so if we're able to thief the money and the finance committee don't notice it, other members of the NEC who you might think are honest don't see it, the independent auditor doesn't see it, and EOJ, I don't know how they would miss it, don't see it, then change of bank account means we thief same way. I call on Jamaicans. We have been legendary for many things, for sports, for music, for the culture we have. Let us be known for our logic and our brains. Thank you, Sir Chairman. I yield the platform back to you.
Thank you, Brother Chase. I do understand the passion. Before you take the floor, Mr. Patterson, I see a question that was up on my screen that asked about attrition. Somebody was asking if all the attrition from the movement is a testament to the fact that there is attrition in the movement, which you already spoke to. Of all these persons who have left are considered traitors. I'm not sure if I got the question totally 100% correct. Not all the persons that left the movement left under acrimonious circumstances. Not all of them left with bad blood. Persons shy away because they don't think they can manage. Persons step away because of personal challenges. Persons step away because their family members don't want them to. I, for one, if I were to listen to my inner circle, would not be sitting here at, what is this? 9:15. At 9:15. My family members, as far as the UK, have called me and said, "Boss, stay clear of this, you're mad." and I've defied them to be here because I'm doing this for my children, right? And I give willingly and dearly because I support the vision. So no, not everybody that leaves under acrimonious circumstances. They leave for various reasons. But when someone leaves under acrimonious circumstances, it's because they choose to leave under acrimonious circumstances. We have an established protocol for separation, just like any other organization. And if someone was to be genuine enough to sit through the process, they will leave being members still. And we have persons who have left and are still members and support the movement. So no, not everyone leaves under acrimonious circumstance. The floor is yours, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to kind of touch on, I see somebody asking online about the process for opening a bank account. So I think everybody in Jamaica now knows, even for a personal bank account, how difficult it can be in Jamaica to open a personal bank account. In some banks, it might be easier than others. Now, if you try to open a business bank account, let's say a sole proprietorship or a partnership, that is another layer of challenge. If you try to open a corporate bank account, that's another layer of challenge. Now, if you try to open a political party bank account, well, that's where you get into a different domain. When you get into that domain, they say to you, well, we don't quite have something specific for opening a political party bank account. So now you're in a different domain. In any event, they'll give you a list of things that they want from you, your articles of incorporation, your resolution, your things about your membership, things about your sources of funds, and all kinds of questions. Banks have a heap of questions. So you go through the first list, usually 10 or 13 items. You fulfill those 10 or 13 items, and then when you think you're good, depending on the time, in my experience when I did it, and I've done it like maybe 5 or 6 times, with Scotiabank, NCB, JMMD, Victoria Mutual, in the days. I've been doing this for a while now. UIC has been trying to get a bank account from way back as 2013, 14, 15, 16. I gave up when most of these new guys come on and say, you guys can do it now because I'm tired. So I've been through the process. Now, when you fulfill the first set, normally after a while, they take a while, sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month or two. Then they said, oh, we need some other documents. And then you would get a list of 5 or 6 items again, and you submit those items. And then they take some time again, and then they say, come in now. And you come in and you talk and you get ready to, you think you're gonna sign now. And they say, oh, by the way, where does your donors get the money from that they send to you? I said, well, some of them, them job and them business and so on, generally. Then how do you know where to get the money from that they're sending to you? So we can't know where to get the money from, really. We can ask them though, if you want. And I said, what does the other parties do that you have accounts for? Because you have charities as well. You have charities who are getting money donated from people. You have 2 other main political parties who have been around for centuries, exaggerating there. How do they do it? Tell us how they do it, and we will do exactly what they do. And this is what they say to you. Well, we can't disclose that to you how they do it. I said, okay, tell us how you want us to do it, and we'll see if we can follow what you want. They said, no, you need to tell us how you're going to do it. At that point, we freeze because it's hard for you to come up with what is it that I'm going to do. I said, well, we can ask people to tell us when we are donating where the money comes from. That's not good enough. And then you're back in a spiral. And eventually, you're out the door. Mr. Chase, I see your hand up, and then Sheldon.
All right, sir, I'd just like to add to that. All right, I have been engaging the banks also within my capacity as General Secretary before the elections in the AMC. And I'd like to add to what Mr. Patterson said. I approached, let me add though, that Mr. Patterson has always been advising me to make a record of every single step when approaching the banks and make it public. As you were, in my head, it would be a name them and shame them sort of thing. But in my own act of being too nice or not wanting to damage potential relationships. Maybe it was an act of defiance. It may be seen as that. I have not done so. I have approached the banks on goodwill. No, just to say though that I'm not going to do that any longer because I see that they are trying to waste our time. I approached JN Bank, and JN Bank told me that they could not give us an account unless we wrote to the Minister of Finance for permission to open a bank account. I could not believe what I was hearing. An association in Jamaica, a legally registered political party, we were told to write to the Minister of Finance for permission to open a bank account because they did not want to get in any trouble. I don't know what that says to you, but that was the response we got from JN. They did not want to get in any trouble, so we were supposed to get permission from the Minister of Finance before we could open an account there. Of course, I was not going to ask for any permission to open a bank account, so we moved on. I went to Sagicor Bank next, and they were very nice to me. They wanted to know all about this new political party. We need to have them in power, and yes, and they told me that they had no problem with giving the UIC a bank account, and that they gave me the requirements to fill. I brought the documents. Then they gave me another set of requirements and told me that they were unable to facilitate us opening an account. When I asked why, because they needed a definitive list of our sources of funding. When I showed them that we did indicate that our funds come from donors and membership subscriptions, they wanted a list of every single member and donor, their residence, their place of work, how they got money. And so I explained that the list changes because it's dynamic, it never stays the same. So by the time we get all of this information from people all over the world, the details would have changed because people stop, more people come online. It's not realistic. Then I asked, what are the requirements for the other political parties? They could not tell me. Well, I said I did not want to know the business of the other parties. I just need to know what are the requirements to open the account. They said they could not give me that information. Then they started asking about a tax compliance certificate. I pointed to the audited documents and showed them that the papers do state that we are tax exempt. But they said unless we could provide a letter from the Companies Office of Jamaica, they couldn't help us, although we are not under the purview of the Companies Office of Jamaica. As was explained, I even provided them a copy of the Representation of the People Act to show that we are under the purview of the EOJ, not the COJ, but they could not help us. So these are the difficulties that we go through to open a bank account for the UIC. Now we are engaging the NCB. We hope to have a better response. And I hope that clears up some things for some people.
Thank you, Brother Chase. I see we have Sheldon's hand up. The floor is yours, Sir Sheldon.
Yes, good night, everyone.
Good night, Brother Sheldon.
Happy Uniters, near and far, are part of this great movement. I want to say we are at it again with another problem, and it comes back down to financial management and etc. I am not here to accuse anyone or anything, but we want to move forward from this problem and to adjust that people can be transparent, because transparent is what everyone wants, even in this country, and even from the other two parties, and the management of certain financial things. The problem have been no one want to give the UIC an account, which a lot of people clearly understand that, based on what we have been hearing and what I have checked as well. But I believe that for Mr. Patterson and Mrs. Patterson to be safe from this is for this account that is in his name to be moved to the financial management committee as a personal joint account in a financial group with a persons to be signing a contract include that no one cannot move certain things without like a group of 10 persons in a financial management structure, that no one can point fingers at Mr. and Mrs. Patterson by saying that there's mismanagement of certainty, because we want to, because this have happened back in the past. This have happened back in the past, and we want to don't want it to kind of, because people will say things, and especially when you don't have a full insight, if they're not a part of the financial council or they are not brief on the different statement that we went through some time ago to show this is what the movement have been through and all of that, to say this is how things are run in the UIC. But I think that the account should be moved from both wherever, if it's in Mr. Patterson's name, that if people having that problem, that people can see that transparent, because this UIC is a great movement and I want it to go forward. Mr. Patterson is excellent person to lead this movement and continue the support of his wife, which as I can see as a great person who continue to push him and do all the underground work, because I can know that she does a lot to ensure that things are up and running. And several other members, including the chairman and other persons. And it's sad to see this happening over and over. And for us to move forward, I think that that step need to be taken, that no one from either the diaspora or local can point fingers to say that the money affairs of the UIC is there or here, that a group of 10 or more, whatever person can give account for the management. Because when money are handled in a certain way, some people feel that it's not properly managed and so on. So for the UIC, I believe that that move need to take place soon, because I know that the bank will offer a giant accounts.
Brother Sheldon, thank you for the suggestion. I'll let the treasurer answer you. But let me say this. You said here we are again and people will speak, etc. From all that has happened, has there been anything of substance in your mind that justify these? Simple answer, and we go to the treasurer.
No, I cannot say because I am not a part of the financial.
No. I said in your,
so
in your mind. No. In your mind. When the
Oh,
accusation
in my mind, I believe that for a person who have accounting background, Mr. Patterson,
Hold on, Brother Sheldon. What I'm saying is this: the accusations that come out.
Yeah.
Did anybody offer proof that to you is enough to say yes, there's something wrong?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, but I just want to see the movement run in a way that people don't have those speculation.
No, I know that, and that suggestion is greatly appreciated, and the treasurer is gonna respond to you.
Okay.
Madam Treasurer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To respond to Sheldon's comment, a lot of people may not be aware of this, but even though there's an account in, the Patterson's name, it's a donated account to the organization, so no personal funds are being mixed with whatever is being donated to the UIC. So a lot of persons don't know this, but every transaction that takes place on that account has to be authorized first by I'm one of the signing officers. 2, Winston is on that as well as the chairperson. So every transaction has to be authorized by at least 2 persons before, you know, it can take place. And, you know, we, all of number 1, every transaction has a receipt. That's 1. Number 2, there's a bank statement that is submitted on the 2nd or 3rd of every month to show that this is exactly what came in and what went out. So there should be no misunderstanding as it pertains to, you know, funds being misused, misrepresented, or misappropriated in this case, whether it's in that account or not. It's strictly UIC funds that is in that account.
How many times has that account been audited?
We're going on our 3rd year.
So 3 consecutive audits. Have all those audits been good or bad?
Absolutely.
So those audits have all been good. And where does that audit statement go? What do you do with those audit reports? Those very lengthy audit reports that usually come for organizations.
Okay, so firstly, what is done, we sign off on it as, you know, the president signs off, the treasurer, chairman signs off on it. Say again?
Sign off on it meaning what? We change the wording of it, or we sign our signature on it, what?
We just put our signature on it to say this is, you know, this is an authentic statement.
Okay.
After the external auditor, you know, gives his approval and so forth and send it off to us. After that is done, it is presented at our ANC meeting 1. 2, it is also distributed to, you know, persons in our database. So everybody has a copy of our financial statements. So if we have statements being submitted to the ECJ who has persons from both parties, you know, in that midst, if something was wrong, and we all know none of those 2 want a 3rd party to exist. If something was wrong, do you still think the UIC would have a party status?
Exactly. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome.
Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, I'll just, well, firstly, I'd like to say good evening there. It is 3:30 in the morning here in the UK.
Yeah,
it's almost
10 p.m. here.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what was said. And my reasons for so doing is this takes away the accusation on our president that reflects on us, the UIC. So if that being the case, I think it would take away some of this reoccurrence. And I think, again, putting it over to the treasurer and in that department, then the signatures could be 1, the president, as well as the what would then be the chair. And then that would then take away these distractions that we seem to be going through at times. So I'd like to put that in as a consideration. I know it speeds up the process, but yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Brother Morrison. I'm hoping you didn't miss the treasurer's presentation just now, where she said that 1, any transaction in the account has to have 2 of 3 signing officers. That's the first thing. Secondly, that the account isn't managed other than outside of the treasurer's purview and the finance committee. So that is already in place.
Okay, my concern there is the personal attack that it leaves on our president that then impacts on us overall as a UIC.
Right, and for that now, Brother Neil and myself and the treasurer, who have been tasked by resolution by the NEC to open an account, has been having difficulty, which Brother Neil spoke to. I can add to that to say I've gone to banks, 2 banks as a matter of fact, and made the same request of them. And they wanted a trove of information, including your personal details, your full name, your address, your phone number, that I'm not willing to give them. So I walked away from that institution. If you want me to give a commercial entity your data, we can do that. But I'm sure you want your information protected. So we're looking to work with other banks who are willing to be more considerate to have that done. But I do get your point that it is a distraction, and it is. But we also need to understand that this distraction is being done by malicious persons who internally knows the challenges that we face, but yet choose to use this information to create that distraction. So we need to look at that as well. So it's not just a straightforward black and white clear-cut thing where there's this happening. No, it's been done by persons who are internal, who sit in these meetings and listen to the challenges and the deliberations and the pain and the agony. All right. And I'll go further and say this. I have experienced time challenges in working with Chase and Naika to get the account open. And not because I don't want to. And the president has divorced himself of this matter and has delegated through the NEC. The NEC has voted 3 persons, myself, the treasurer, and Mr. Neil, to do this. All right. Right now, I'm at work. I've been here since 7:30 a.m. this morning. And I finished what I was doing just about 7:30, just the same, to join this meeting. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even finished. I just closed the computer so I don't have a distraction. So my time challenge is well known in the movement. Having said that, we have worked to create a very transparent mechanism which our auditors and the government approves of. All right.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, before you go, and I know there are other hands that are up, but I just want to make sure we close this case fully with the bank account issue. I can assure you that we're never going to not have somebody trying to paint the organization for you. It's never going to stop. You must understand what the UIC is. The UIC represent a clear and present danger in terms of a threat to the status quo. Right now, the PSOJ oligarchs are quaking in their boots. They can't afford for the Jamaican people to learn what we've been trying to teach them. And the moment this message gets out to the broader Jamaican population, it's game over for the PSOJ oligarchs and the 2 colonial parties, because they won't be able to stop this hurricane. Now, there's also an argument going around that says that when I was in Canada the other day, that they got a bank account, a reputable bank has offered us a bank account, and that I, Joseph Patterson, stopped us from getting that bank account. I'm going to show you how, what's the word, naive and ridiculous, actually. A member sent me an email that said, there's a bank that has agreed to open an account for us. Here's all the information, get the Articles of Association, and maybe a letter from the NEC, and go into the bank and open the account. Prior to leaving Jamaica on the 15th of May, I wrote back to the party and said, I will not be able to do any activities related to opening an account, but if you open it, I'll be more than happy to sign off on it. Without me knowing, without me realizing, they subsequently sent back and said, the bank says, I must be the person who come and open the account. Now, anybody who understands banking knows how it works, right? You're going to need legal documentary proof. And for us to open an account in Canada, for an organization domiciled in Jamaica, is next to impossible if you understand banking and opening an account. But these persons are persisting in saying that I failed to open an account in Canada. You don't open an account in Canada in 2 weeks while you're there, and you don't open an account in Canada for a Jamaican entity that has no registered office in Canada. You need to open a chapter in Canada. So this is the Canadian chapter, and that requires you to register the company or register the entity with the CRA, which is the Canada Revenue Agency, and go through a number of steps to then be able to take that to the bank. And then I will need to have other signing officers. The key party to this, I just left Canada and gone to Jamaica. So she who started it, she left Canada and she's gone to Jamaica, and she's sending me, the president, to go open an account. I don't know how else to describe this but naivety, but it doesn't work that way, guys. And I try to explain to these folks, and there seems to be a mental disconnect. They don't understand how things work, but then they will accuse you because of their lack of understanding and lack of appreciation for the process. I can assure you, nobody can go to Canada and open a bank account for a Jamaican business or Jamaican nonprofit, or worse, a Jamaican political party. Nobody can do that. So when you hear that foolishness coming out of people's mouth, you need to connect and understand it cannot work. And so I'm going to ask you, those people who are spreading these things, just stop it now. If you mean Jamaica any good, if you really care about the UIC, stop spreading these falsehoods. Joseph Patterson did not stop the UIC from getting a bank account in Canada. You cannot get a bank account in Canada for a political party, not in 1 week, not in 2 weeks, and by God, not even in 10 years, you're going to get it. Because the banking rules would never allow a political party in Jamaica to open an account in Canada. That's just banking laws, banking regulations. However, if you set up a chapter, which is another story, then you have to work through that process. And it's not going to happen on my 2-week stay in Canada while I'm going to church services and I'm going to town hall meeting, which I then have to go and set up because the planning and organizing wasn't done properly by those who were in charge. We're now talking about bank account. Mr. Chairman, I really hope and wish that tonight we'll lay these foolishness to rest so we can focus on the people's business and deal with getting this party elected and getting the changes we need done in our constitution and in our country. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well said, Mr. President, and thank you. We need to bring this event to a close shortly. At this time, the chair acknowledges Ms. Powell, VP Powell.
Thank you, Sir Winston. I just want to say this. I just want to say to members and supporters, we have to be wise. You have to be wise and be able to pick sense out of nonsense and not be so quick to just run with everything you hear. Because when, even if I wasn't a member of this organization and I stand aside and just observe and listen to the accusation or the assumption or all the things that persons are doing, I would say to myself, then this don't look like so the people them accuse somebody who own a bakery, say him steal a loaf of bread. That's how it sounds to me. A lot of things, and I don't know much about accounting and all of that, but just listening to some of the things them, it just don't make sense. It don't add up at all. So let us be more wiser and pick sense out of nonsense, man. A lot of bright people is here, man. Don't act so, so blind. Yeah. That is
Thank
it,
you.
sir.
Thank you, VP Powell. Acknowledge Chair Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ensure the member who had concerns about us preventing other attacks. Mr. Patterson spoke to it, but I just want to add to it that these will never stop. It might sound pessimistic, and it is tiring and we have to deal with it. But the fact of the matter is that the UIC policies and the model of governance is a game changer such that those persons who are in, I hate using the word in power, in office right now, they will never ever be able to engage in the levels of corruption and abuse of the people's money and resources that they are doing now. Once the UIC's governance structure goes into government, that will be the end of that. And their trail of reaping capital money off the backs of the people will end. The corruption that facilitates the crime wave will end because the governance policies will not support that. I urge everybody who has not yet done so to look at our manifesto on uicjamaica.com and our governance structure at the bottom, and that will show you why this movement is such a threat to the establishment that they will stop at no, they will not stop. They will not stop until they have made us give up and just shut it down. Now, these people are so insidious, so heartless. Not saying this is the case for everyone. Some persons have been dismissed because they just cannot manage. And I tell you, this is challenging work. We are asking for volunteers, but I'm telling you, you have to work. Some people cannot manage. Some people just find that they don't have the capacity and they walk. But there are some persons who are plants and spies from the moment, and they come in and they get close, they involve themselves in everything, and they get close to people and farm bands, and then they strike. And that is the most hurtful thing. So that the Jamaican people can say, but look how them did close to the people and now them run them. And then it casts doubt in the heart of the people that the UIC is serious. And we see it happening. I'm sure some of you watching have been there at this place now. But this is one of the ploys of those persons who don't want to see the UIC succeed. Now, let me make it clear. It is mostly those persons who have established a connection with the UIC and its members. I see some of them in the chat right now making some comments. But we take the higher ground, because if we ever reveal some of the things, and they know that we will not do it because of the honor, but if we reveal some of these things, these people shut them out. But there are stated procedures. If, according to the constitution of the UIC, if you have a problem with the president or any member of the UIC, you may move for a vote of no confidence. None of these detractors have moved for a vote of no confidence. Not one. In fact, in every single meeting in which a vote of confidence is called for, the president gets full confidence. And persons who are watching, who have been at those meetings, can attest in the comments so people can see what I'm talking about. So people, every single member in good standing has that opportunity to raise a vote of no confidence in a member of the NEC from the president go down if they feel that the member needs to be removed. Another thing that people can do, members can do rather, is call for a hearing of the Dispute Resolution Committee. So you can charge somebody for mismanaging the accounts of the UIC or carrying out gross misconduct. None of these people have charged any member under the DRC. Not one. And these are clear procedures under the Constitution that our members know about. How else can we remove a member? Every year we have an AMC, and all positions are called up for a challenge. To date, no one has ever nominated a challenge for the post of president, but yet they will go on social media and lambast the president. We call for challenges to the presidency, and not one person. In my mind, this is these persons recognizing that they have not found anyone worthy to challenge the president. Because if they did, would they not have nominated that person to run as president and then vote them in so that they can get rid of the so-called dictator? But they have not nominated a candidate for president in any of the AMCs, which we have every year. I want to tell that sometimes people call for a vote of no confidence in the NEC members, which are presently some of those who are making noise out there. The members have voted for a vote of no confidence in those very same persons, so that in 1 year we had 2 AMCs, and in those 2 AMCs, I think it was 2021 or 2022. 2022. In those 2 AMCs that we have in 1 year, the post of president has gone unchallenged. So a member did use the vote of no confidence, but not to the president, but other members of the NEC. And the members of the NEC got so angry that they formed a faction of their own after the people said, we don't want to know. So, and these very same persons voted for confidence in the president, which says something. So even when they go out and make trouble, they themselves admit to confidence in the president. And they have neglected to use any of these ways to have their concerns addressed. They have not called for a vote of no confidence. They have not nominated another president. They have not addressed a call for a DRC for any member on the NEC. So if it is, and I do ask all viewers, go on uicjamaica.com and in the search bar, type Constitution and you read through it, and you will see the different ways to get these things addressed. If none of these persons who are making noise have used the avenues to get their concerns addressed or to change out who they think not performing, but they choose to come in the public, which the public can't do anything about it unless you're a member anyway. So what are you trying to do? What are they trying to do? But create a bad image of the UIC. I ask people watching this live to share the live first of all, but I ask you to engage your thinking. If there is a way to get rid of the wicked dictator, whichever of us is that dictator, and they have not used it, not even once. To this day, they have not used it, but they feel comfortable to not use the procedures, but go outside and create a bad picture of the UIC and its leader. What really is their goal and aim? What is their goal if they have not done the effective thing? Because if they did the effective thing, then they think they would have gotten their concerns addressed. I leave you with that. Use your brains, people.
Thank you, Brother Chase. Mr. President.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Sometimes I tend to, because I hear so many things that I want to respond to, but I do recall that in the recent incident we're now talking about, that there was a confidence question in that situation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, what was the outcome of that confidence situation?
In that meeting, when you expressed no confidence in the person rebutted by saying, I have every confidence in the president. I have every confidence in you, Mr. Patterson. Verbatim, word for word.
How is that possible? I couldn't understand it because I expressed my complete lack of confidence.
And you didn't mince words. You didn't use Spanish. You didn't use
Japanese. Based on all the factors we discussed as a body, I expressed complete lack of confidence. And this person said, you may express a lack of confidence in me, but I have full confidence in you as the president of the UIC. How is that possible? Now, I hate to share this, because I tell you what, people, there is a plan, and that plan is to somehow cut off the head of the UIC for some other objective. I see people in the situation. I see a former director of membership here on the live on YouTube saying a lot of stuff. A former director of membership saying a lot of stuff. She has been around for a long time. From the time of Ms. Japanowski, she has been around. She was formerly a general secretary of the movement. She was voted out of that position. We brought her back because she expressed that she wants to really work, and we brought her back in, and she made her way back up to be a membership director. The only reason that she's out today is because she and the same person in question had very, very serious problems. Very, very serious problems. But I'm amazed now to see the kind of concerted coming together. Why do people do these things? What is the motivation? Why do you want, if you have no confidence in me and you have no confidence in the UIC, why don't you just go away and form your own party and just show Jamaica what competences you have? Why do you have former vice presidents sitting on our thing here, dropping all kinds of words? Why doesn't he go away and form another party and demonstrate his competences? Why don't all of these persons who think that we're getting it wrong, why don't they just form a political party and do what we are failing to do? Just go and do it.
Hold on. I can tell you why.
Yes.
Because they see the kind of thankless work that you had to do, and they can't do it.
They can only tear it down.
is more difficult to build.
Yeah.
10 times,
It's easier
100
to
times
tear
more
down.
difficult.
If you have the time to spare, like right now, I see the former vice president spending a lot of time here on the thing. He didn't have time to do his work when he was vice president. In fact, he says the weight was too heavy for him and he quit. If you quit because you didn't have the time, why spend the time now on our life wasting time trying to drop innuendos and say how we're being condescending? We're not being condescending. We're tired of people like you who just add hot here to the room and cannot carry the load. If you can't do the work, go away and be quiet.
Right now, I should be on the line calling members. And I'm not, because we're doing this.
Exactly. We have a meeting coming up. We have our town hall on July 2nd. That's Sunday. Me have to get up out of my bed and get up there Saturday. Mr. Ika has to get up there on Saturday and get place ready. Mr. Wright has been running up and down, getting chairs, getting venue, getting food, whatever. And these people are wasting our time. And honestly, I've had enough of it, but not enough to quit. I've had enough that I'm not going to spend any more time on this. I will not spend any more time on this. The former General Secretary has made her decision. She has shown her colors, and we have voted on it, and we move on. We have to get back to the business of the people of Jamaica. And I know she would like to prolong this so that and she has done this before, you just don't know it. She would like for us to have more issues so we cannot get the work done to get our town halls. She has caused us some serious problems in London, in Canada, in St. Elizabeth, and now she's again, and even on the rally we just had, she has interrupted that, and now she has interrupted this again. Enough is enough. We have to move on, people. We cannot continue to allow these people to come into our midst, come into our organization, and seek to tear it down from within. We already have enough problems outside. And so I'm asking the NEC and the entire body of the UIC to let us start being even more efficient in addressing these things. It's not the first time we're addressing this particular person. We voted her off the board before. You might recall, Mr. Chairman. We voted her off before when she was a vice president. And we gave her a second chance. And this is the result of the second chance. But we have to stop it. We have to stop it now. We need to move on. They're making sure we're not ready for elections. They're making sure that we're not out busy advertising our town hall. And then when it fails, they see it failed, they don't get good turnout. Because we have people on the inside chopping off our legs, putting out nice fancy statements, pretending as if they're doing work, and then coming at the end and doing this kind of stuff. We have to fix it, my friends. We have to stop this. And I have every confidence in the members of the NEC right now. I have full confidence in every single member because you've proven yourselves. And you're not doing it for money, as some people suggest. If it was money, you're gone a long time. It's costing you money to be here. It's costing me money to be here. You have to go to work tomorrow, Chase. You have to go to work tomorrow, Miss Coretta. You have to go to work tomorrow, Miss Williams. You have to go to work, Miss Powell. You have to go to work, Miss Patterson. You have to go to work, Mr. Wright. Abdul. We all have to go to work tomorrow. The Prime Minister and the opposition leader are being paid by taxpayers, and they're not working as hard as we are. They have had 80 years to build a good system of governance, and we have done it with what? Without 1 cent of taxpayers' money. We have built a system that can convert Jamaica into the best performing country, even better than Singapore. We have done that with no money from the taxpayers. And they're getting our money every single day. And you guys, people out there, some of you out there are busy attacking us, trying to tear us down while they're tearing down our country. Shame on you. Absolutely shame on you. I'm totally disgusted by your behavior. This is wrong. It is ungodly. It is inhumane. It is pitiful. And it's time for you to stop. If you have nothing good to do, go home, sit down, and watch the country fall apart until the UIC fixes it. If you cannot be a part of the movement and help to fix the problem, stop seeking to tear it down. I've said enough, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was gonna ask the final words around the room, but honestly, it's late. I'm tired. I have a 1-hour drive.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
who's Mike?
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, it's 10 p.m. now, so we really have to wrap it up, honestly.
Okay. Kirk, you have
Less
the floor.
less than a minute. I just want to encourage Mr. Patterson to continue to hold the pulse, and trust me, I see, and as a person living in Canada and see what can happen, I know like every plan that you put forth and that you and the entire team, all the plans that put forth there, I personally know they can work, and I 100% believe, and I know we are still behind you, sir. And don't give up. The challenge is there, but I am asking you, please, sir, stand up for Jamaica. Don't let them tear you down. And they're gonna say all different stuff, but I'm encouraging you, please, sir, stand up and let them see that there can be better in spite of what it is. They're gonna discourage you. They're gonna say a lot of stuff, but personally, I know that a lot of stuff, or all the stuff that they are saying, is just to distract you, to destroy the movements, and to keep Jamaica where they want it to be and where they're comfortable living off a handout and all of those stuff, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. We do have to go now, but thank you very much. Much appreciated. Mr. Chairman, please.
Can I echo the same comment from the UK? I mean, I had spent the evening looking at the Constitution, and they're definitely not going to stop us now. So I'd like to say, be encouraged, stand firm, stand strong. We are a threat to the status quo. And yeah, good governance is what the country needs. So blessed love and more strength.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Chair.
I know it's last minute. I didn't get a chance to say something, but I need to say something as the chair of the finance committee.
Ms. Abdul, please.
I know.
The floor is yours.
Give me 1 second. 1 second.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I need to say something before we head off, but I just want everyone to, first of all, I'm disappointed of what's happening. Very disappointed. I spent the morning defending the UIC with members of my family who follow the UIC. I am disappointed to hear what I heard about Ms. Tremblay. And I just want, if you don't understand something, you ask questions. But to go out and put stuff out in the public, which is untrue, that's very disappointing. And I'm just asking everyone to just keep things professional. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul. Thank you for your sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time with us. Now that you know, don't be afraid to shame those persons who spread these misleading and materially false narratives to suit their needs, whether it's to monetize their channel on YouTube or to gain 15 minutes of fame. Malcolm X said it best when he talks about these entertainers that are propped up to be leaders in communities. Now that we have seen the true face of the traitors, let us be aware, let us shun them and shame them. Uniters, thank you for being here with us tonight. I do appreciate your time. The movement appreciates your time. We look forward to your continued support. And at our regular members meeting, you have the voice to ask questions, and we give reports on every issue that the party is addressing. So at the next members meeting, turn out in your numbers to have your questions answered and hear our reports on our various activities. Have a good night, everyone. Safe journey.
Quickly, Mr. Wright. Miss Shirley, just 1 second of your voice. This was supposed to be your show. We kind of hijack it. Miss Shirley.
I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm taking in everything. And I too could say that that young lady, I now understand fully what is going on. And believe you me, I'll talk to you, Mr. Patterson, because she's reached out to me directly and she make her statement. And I listen to what is being said here. And now I know, because I charge her, if it is that I find out that she is not on the good side, I am going to blast her.
So you see, she's in a position of trust with person's information, and what she's using it to do is create a clique, or trying to create a clique. Miss Shirley, good to hear your voice. I've heard good things. I look forward to your show. Let's reschedule for next week.
Next week Wednesday. Looking forward, Miss Shirley. Take care.
Good night, all. One
Good night,
Jamaica.
everyone. One Jamaica. Stronger
Good night,
together.
everyone. One Jamaica.
Good night.
Good night.
Everyone, Kirk, reach out.
For sure, for sure.
Good night, all.
Bless up United. Home and abroad.
Mr. Roman.